Why is table he, book she, and milk neutral? I mean, objects don't have gender, so why does the language assign one to them? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Joyce, a Nigerian learning Russian, and today we'll talk about gender in the Russian language, and in the English term, it is called grammatical gender. Now, what is grammatical gender? Grammatical gender is a way a language organizes nouns into groups. Masculine associated with male things, feminine associated with female things, and neutral for abstract concepts, but not always. Russian now belongs to three categories: the masculine, the feminine, and the neutral. And these categories affect how other words change in a sentence, like the adjective, the pronouns, and even the verb. For example, Navi stole, that is new table. Naval kniga, new book, and Navoy molako. With this example, you can see that the adjective changed its form, its sound, its forms, because of the gender associated with these words. So gender in the Russian language is not about biological sex, it's simply a grammatical classification system. Now let's talk about the history of gender, of grammatical gender in the Russian language. Gender system in Russia comes from the ancient Indo-European family, which is the ancestor of many languages such as the Russian, the German, Greek, and even English. And in those early categories, nouns were categorized, were grouped into their forms, which is based on their forms and endings. Over time, those categories developed into genders we see today. We see and use to. And guess what? Though this topic sounds a little confusing, to guess the gender of an object is not really as hard as it seems. And today, the easiest way to guess the gender of a Russian noun is just by looking at the end of a word and seeing the final letter of a word. Now, your question may be, how is that possible? Well, I will give you the 3 steps how you can realize this gender through the end of a word. Masculine gender is realized in a word when the noun ends with consonants. For example, stole, dom, город. If a noun ends with a consonant, it is most usually masculine. The feminine is realized when the end of a word ends with the a and ja vowels. Examples are kniga, machina, семья. Neutral is also realized when the word ends with the o and j vowels. Examples are molako, more, and окно. And of course, like most languages, Russian has its exceptions. For example, there are some words that ends with the a and ja that are masculine. Yes, and there are some words that ends with consonant letter that is actually feminine. For example, notch and mish. And there are some words that end with ya that are actually neutral. For example, vremya, imya. All these examples are few of the examples that are exceptions to this rule of gender, that words that end with consonants are masculine, words that end with the a and ja are feminine, and words that end with the o and ye are neutral. There are still some words that are exceptions, but the examples I gave are part of the few that are actually exceptions. Now, why is gender important in the Russian language. Why is gender important in the Russian language? Gender matters in Russian because other words must agree with the noun. Adjective, pronouns, past tense and verb all change in a sentence when the noun is either masculine, feminine or neutral. Example: on bill child slave. On bill child slave. I hope I sounded correctly. Means he is happy. You see that it ends with a consonant sound, and because of that the words change. The verb is bill. Now let's say Anna bila счастлива. You see that now it's a female form, feminine form, and it's Anna she, bila it now ends with a. Счастлива also ends with an a. Why? Because of the noun. So like I said, the sentence, the word, a sentence, the verb, the adjective, the pronouns are all change due to the noun. So if the noun is masculine, the adjective or the past tense will change to a feminine, will change to a male form, and if it's a feminine form, if the noun is feminine, it will change. The adjective, the past tense, will change to a feminine form. So that is why gender is important in the Russian language. So Russian words have gender not because the objects are actually male or female, but because the language inherited an ancient grammatical system, and today the end of the word usually tells you its gender. Now, do you want to follow my journey? Don't forget to subscribe. And let me ask you this: what gender is this word? Let me know in the comment section.